Qibla. We want to welcome each and every one of you to Jama Masjid Port of Spain, number 2 to 4 Queen Street, Port of Spain. Inshallah, for today's topic. And it's a very interesting topic today, inshallah, which many of us are facing depression in some form or the other, inshallah. Today we have a very short program. It will be done by, the program goes like this. We have opening dua, Quranic recitation. We have a skit, we have a talk by Brother Riza on depression, a talk on suicide by Brother Nadim. We have a skit, then we have, the skit is on depression and suicide. Then we have the in-house announcement by our Imam. And then we'll have the closing dua by Dr. Mansoor Ibrahim. So now I'll call to start the program for today is our Haji Sahib Hanif Ali to make the opening dua, inshallah. And now we're going to Quranic recitation by our little master, our brother Shukil, inshallah, for the Majid Jama, even with the Quranic recitation. going to get into the first part of the program. The first part will be depression, and it will be done by Brother Riza. Okay, the skit will be done first on depression and suicide by some sisters across on my left, inshallah.
Nabi, carry this the nearest. Yeah.
That we introduce the class on today for the depression skits. Today we have Mrs. Depression Suicide, then we have Mrs. Depression Recovery, and I am Counselor Tips. Serious? I got to have your clothes. Right? I had a friends on there. Yes.
Good for you to provide the school says so I can do anything on the drink, but you go enough.
But did you ask him what I'm talking about?
No.
You sure?
No. Okay. I take a time, I get some come out, we have this time I have. That's good. I see you happy, yeah. I have a time last night. Okay. I feel so worthless. I feel helpless. No one like me. Not even my own family. I had a time last night. I know it's the waste of my life now. I went to school and the children called me fat and holy holy. The time of my year picky. And I want to note it and I want to make it in life. And when I went to the cafeteria, they took my money, my bag, and dumped me on the ground. I didn't know what to do again. And when I go home, my mom told me the word of things. And my father, he told me, get out here because I done no good. I feel pain in my body. Oh my God. And my head, I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel. I can't take this thing no more. Help me, someone. I don't know what it is. But I don't know. I don't like what they're telling me. I wish my friends come back again, and I'll have time in my life. And now I don't know how I'm feeling. I just feel pain.
I'm fed up. I'm frustrated. My mother had married me off early in life. Right? They tell me my husband, he only one son. Right? And then the only problem we have is drink a little bit now. So then going at dealing with father-in-law and sister-in-law too. Oh my God, I get fed up. I don't know what to do again. I feel like I nobody. I'm feeling like helpless. My husband is taking me on. You're listening. You're listening to family. I'm fed up. I don't know what to do again. Oh my God, this thing I'm working. I have to find something else. I'm fed up. I need to kill myself right now. I need to do it now.
Depression is a feeling of despondency and dejection. If left untreated, depression can easily become suicide. Cycle of depression. Triggers: being disliked, losses, family problems, being rejected. These triggers then lead to thoughts: I will never get better, I'm worthless, I'm a failure. Thoughts then lead to feelings: I'm hopeless, I am lonely, I'm sad, I am upset. These feelings then become behaviors: being inactive, not talking, substance abuse, self-harm, withdrawal, skipping school. Physical responses: low energy, crying, poor appetite, insomnia, poor memory, trouble concentrating. If you had only spoken up, you would have been alive today. Recovery: this is how to recover from a state of depression. Reactivate your life. Identify activities or interests that will get you active and involved again. Realistic thinking: accurate and fair with little or no exaggeration and catastrophizing. Problem solving: seek out actions that can solve existing problems. Depression is a silent killer. Seek help today.
Depression has no face, no gender, no race. Seek help today.
Depression. Depression have no face. Seek help today. Talk to a counselor. Talk to a friend.
Depression. Depression have no face. Seek help today. There is solution to depression. So depression have a solution. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah. May Allah save us from this depression, inshallah, that we don't have to reach in a stage of reality like this. So, we hope everyone, inshallah, will learn something today about depression and suicide. So now, what happened with Valoisa? Now we'll have Sister Camila who will be the introduction of depression.
A pleasant good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here today to present to you on the topic of depression and suicide. So, let me just, could you just put on the PowerPoint, please? So, we have our group members. They consist of Abdul Malik, these are our group members. Nicole Roach, Jermaine Williams, Camelia Simmons, that's myself, Nadeem Mohammed, and Riza Hosai. So I would now like to play a video for you guys. Alright, so the video is not playing. Experiences about the body, so the children are just going to explain the video that was supposed to be played.
video will not show a situation with a mother and a daughter. Right? And in the video, you would have seen that the daughter was exhibiting possible signs of depression, such as sadness, loss of interest, isolation, poor sleeping habits. However, the manner in which the parents handled the situation may have made things worse. The parents may not have been aware of the signs of depression and suicide, and this can eventually result in severe depression or even suicide. This is why it is important for us to understand what is depression and suicide, the symptoms, treatment options, and where to find help. In this regard, I now hand you over to my colleagues.
Yeah, please. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And to my dear non-Muslim brothers and sisters, I extend the greetings of the Muslim unto you. Peace be unto you. Yeah. I don't make noise. I don't really leave it. I'll move it. Let's move it. I'm sorry about that. Brothers and sisters, based on the little skit that we have seen, and I'm so sorry that we did not be able to view the video, depression and suicide is basically a very severe illness that is affecting a lot of people, not only here in our country, but throughout the world. And there's a misconception that is going about that depression is a modern day illness. And that conception is wrong. Because based on written records, there are records that tells us that there were people who were suffering with the symptoms of depression in the second millennium BC. And there are also written records from the Romans, the Greeks, the Babylonians, the Chinese, and also the Egyptians, that in their time there were people who were suffering, or there were people who were exhibiting the symptoms of depression. So for us to conceive or to perceive that depression is a modern day illness, we are wrong. However, in the 14th, 15th, 16th, and the early part of the 17th century, anyone who were exhibiting the symptoms of depression, it was attributed to what is the supernatural. They said that that person is demon possessed. Anyone who had any form of mental illness, they attributed that that state that they were in, because it was not diagnosed as an illness at that time, they attributed that state to the supernatural, that they were demon-possessed. And in the 16th and 17th century, those who exhibited the symptoms of depression were either burned to the stake or they were drowned. And this what we in the Middle Ages. However, in the later part of the 17th century to the 18th and 19th century, which is called the Age of Enlightenment, doctors started to look more carefully at what is the symptoms that the people were exhibiting, mental illness. And eventually they concluded that this is not something that is supernatural, but this is something that is natural. And mind you, it was not until the 1950s, just a decade before I was born, that doctors in the 1950s, they developed a medication for tuberculosis. And what they found out is that in the asylums in those days, their tuberculosis was widespread. So even the mental patients who they had in the asylums, they had was to inoculate them with the tuberculosis vaccine. And what they found out by just pure accident, or is it really accident, that the tuberculosis vaccine was doing something to the people who were suffering with the symptoms of depression. They were actually getting better. So from the 1950s until present day, a lot of research has been done, and a lot of research is still being done concerning depression. What exactly, my dear brothers and sisters, is depression? There is a definition for everything, so we are going to define what exactly is depression. And our definition comes from the American Psychiatric Association. And what they stated, their definition is depression is defined as a common and serious medical illness. And let me repeat that last two words. Medical illness that negatively affects how one feels, the way one acts, and the way one thinks. And we have another definition, and this is from the University of California, in which they define depression is characterized by longer and deeper feeling of despondency and the presence of certain characteristic symptoms. We're going to take one more definition. Excuse me. Depression is classified as a mood disorder. It may be described as feelings of sadness, loss of anger, that interfere with a person's everyday activity. And this is taken from Healthline. This definition is taken from Healthline. First of all, now that we have the definition of depression, we have to clarify what is not depression. And what is not depression? Most times, all of us feel down, based on according to what is taking place in our lives. We exhibit certain types of emotions. And I'll give you an example, like yesterday. Yesterday I was sad. And at the same time, I was angry. And at the same time, I was in a state of grief over what took place in New Zealand. And I'm a person that speaks from their heart. I don't like to, you see what I'm doing here? I don't do this. Right? And it was not until Maghrib time, when I was leading my family in Salah, and I was reciting Surah Duha, and we were talking about that today, and I broke down and I cried while reciting in the Salah. I couldn't finish the Surah. And I went into ruku and so forth. And that cry made me feel good. So yesterday I was very sad, I was full of grief, and I was even angry, but today I'm not. I've gotten over that. Today I'm much better. I'm still sad, and I'm still grieving, but not as much as yesterday. And this is what we experience every single day in our lives. We may have a problem with our spouse. That day we might be a bit sad, but the next day it's better. Or 2 days afterwards it's better. 3 days afterwards it's better. It cannot go 4 days, because if we are angry at somebody, or we are not speaking to somebody, we got 3 days, according to the Sunnah, to clear it up, get it off our chest, get it off our back. And after 3 days, we have to what? Speak to the person. Otherwise, even our salah is going to be in jeopardy. So this is not depression. Understand that. Day-to-day feelings, according to what circumstances is happening in our lives, that fluctuates. Today we're going to be happy, tomorrow we're going to be sad. This is not depression. Depression, my dear brothers and sisters, has symptom state. And we have to be aware and conscious of what those symptoms are. And we will see why it is so important that we equip ourselves with the knowledge to identify depression not only in ourselves, but in our families, in our friends, and the brother who is coming to the masjid or the sister who is coming to the masjid. It is very important that we equip ourselves with that knowledge of the symptoms so that we can help someone. Because as the skit so rightly depicted, depression leads to suicide. What are the symptoms? In order for depression to be diagnosed, that feeling, that low-down feeling, that despondency feeling, that sad feeling, that feeling of worthlessness, that feeling as if you are nothing, has to persist for more than 2 weeks. It has to be there in you, the individual, for more than 2 weeks. Now we got to understand also that these symptoms are going to vary. They are going to be different in the men. Men will exhibit different symptoms. Women are going to exhibit different symptoms. And children, especially children, they are going to exhibit different symptoms. So we got to know what we are looking for. And we got to look at the gender. And we got to look at the age bracket. It's not rocket science. It's a simple thing. If I could learn it, you could learn it. It's as simple as that. Depression affects that part of the brain that the person uses to help to make some judgments, or to help him to make or help her to make decisions that is relevant to their everyday life. If you are in a position, or if you know someone who, like, they are confused, they cannot think properly, they need someone to help them to make decisions for them. They need someone to help them with almost, should I go there or should I go here? or should I do this, or should I do that, then that person is exhibiting one of the signs of depression. The second, another symptom is that the person who is depressed is going to lose interest in things that they used to do, like hobbies. If they used to work in the garden, they will lose that interest. You're going to find that the garden is becoming overgrown. If they used to go swimming or something like that, they will lose all interest in whatsoever they love to do. The third symptom is that the person is always tired, always fatigued. That person may be sleeping a lot, has no energy. And there is also another type of symptom that the person is the totally opposite. That person may be restless. Sit down here, get up. Can't stay one place, can't focus. Then we have changes in appetite. The person may lose his or her appetite. Or they may go into a binge. They may eat more. This is why I said at the beginning the symptoms are going to vary. Then we have loss of sex drive. And then we have insomnia. It's either they cannot sleep or they are sleeping all the time, the total opposite. And then we come now to what we consider the last three. So basically what we have described here is the onset of depression. What we have, these are the symptoms that, listen, depression is setting in. The person has lost interest in what they used to do, what they used to love doing. The person cannot make decisions for themselves. The person is either what? Eating plenty or has lost appetite. The person is either sleeping a lot or is not sleeping. These are the onset, or this is where depression starts to set in. And the last three is the most important ones. You're going to find that this person now is going to feel as if they are worthless. That their life means nothing. They have nothing to live for. Has anybody here ever experienced that? If you are experiencing presently that you are worthless, you have nothing to live for, life has no meaning to you, then I think, and I strongly suggest, you see somebody who can help you. Then there is the other one, the feeling of emptiness or hollowness. It's as if you are like a shell. You have no substance. And then we have you have problems focusing. You have problems concentrating. You have problems making decisions. And then the last one, and if anybody here has this feeling in them, please seek help immediately. Now you are saying to yourself, what's the sense of living? I personally think this is what that little man inside your brain is telling you. You're better off dead. Or your family might be better off without you. What is the sense They're living poor. If anybody has these thoughts, that little guy in their brain is telling them that, please, brothers and sisters, seek help immediately. I strongly recommend, because I have a personal case with depression. I'm not going to say who it is. Alhamdulillah, we was able to get help for that person. And I know what it is like personally to witness a person going through depression. It's not a nice thing. I do not ever believe for 1 minute that we will not go through that. We don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for us. So if anybody is having suicide thoughts, please seek help immediately, and I'll now put you on to Brother Nadeem, who will explain more on suicide and what are the treatments that is required or proposed for the people with depression. I thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Brother Riza, Jazakumullah khairan. I got scared when the sisters did this skit. I thought as though the presentation would have been redundant because they were so well at it. May Allah increase you all and accept from you all. Amen. As Brother Riza said, well said, depression is what it is, and those thoughts and those symptoms that he outlined, basically, it has to be a consistent feeling and thought processing for 2 weeks onwards. And not just this immediate feeling and then tomorrow, well, I'm feeling so much better now and this, that and the other. It's a consistent feeling of all these different symptoms, and if it is that you're feeling this, it can possibly lead to suicidal thoughts. So let's jump right into it. What is suicide? The act of killing yourself, and most often as a result of depression or other mental illnesses. So, in the last year, 2 persons from our Jamaat in the Martin, Allah took their lives to suicide. One, he was 11 years old, a boy. Ubaid is his name, and another is a very close brother of mine, and you all may have known him from the ROU. He is Musa, Adrian, and he was 25 years old. And when this happened, almost back to back, it shook us up in the Jamaat, especially those who have a particular ability to seek out the information and the knowledge. And the older brother, he was known for practicing his deen. And I think there's a misconception out there that just because someone has suicidal thoughts or they have symptoms of depression, that their iman is held low. Their iman is zero or nothing. Their faith in Allah and the last day is zero. And that brother is proof that this is not the fact. Because a lot of us, well, I personally know the brother and know what he stood for. However, he was going through what he was going through, and due to circumstances, he did not get the help. So it's important that we understand or we recognize the signs of someone who may want to commit suicide or our own self. Because I guess it begins with us. We need to examine ourselves. Examination begins with ourselves. So, past suicide attempts. Someone who's known, research has compared someone who has had previous suicide attempts to someone who has not had any suicide attempts before. The rate to commit suicide is higher in the one, obviously, who tried to commit suicide, take their lives. So this is one. If someone tried and failed, alhamdulillah, we need to be vigilant and we need to always check up on them or take a real interest and a deep interest into their lives, into their problems, into their thoughts, so that we can seek help for them or we can help them ourselves. And this is one. Disrupted sleep patterns. You would recognize that some of these symptoms may be similar to the symptoms of depression. However, these symptoms would be at a higher level. And disrupted sleep patterns, it is a measuring stick or a barometer of our well-being. Meaning, our sleep patterns, it directly impacts how we feel the next day. And all of us know how that feels. Especially the youth, when we sleep in late and we get up with a hard lash or something, the rest of the day is horrible. Or we get up with bad news, or we know how the mummies get up right through the night every 2 hours to breastfeed or to nurse. How their day goes. And I guess that's why they have such a long maternity leave and we don't get any, right? Because they need to get sleep. They need to get enough sleep. So a disrupted sleep pattern, it can fail to provide an emotional stability during times of distress, during the day, during the week. And therefore, this lack of stability, it impacts how our moods are regulated. So this directly affects suicidal behaviors. Thirdly, an increase in anxiety and agitation. Now, these two characteristics can be affected by disrupted sleep patterns. However, it's important to know what is anxiety and what is agitation. An agitated person is always quick to become frustrated, angry, his temper goes up in the sky, his brains begin to boil, and always feeling bothered by people. If somebody asks him just in work, what you think about this, or can you do this for me, or you just start to tap him on the shoulder and he get up and he starts to rant and rave and you want to know where this came from, that's because he's highly agitated. Anxiety, however, the person tends to have a more of a fear-first response. They're always the fear of what's going to happen next. They're not comfortable. They're not stable. They're always anxious of what's going to happen, and they experience symptoms or they display symptoms like nervous energy, always nervous, jittery, sweating, increased heartbeat. Right? This can lead to panic attacks, right? And also mood changes, sudden mood changes, not just mood changes, but sudden mood changes. And I guess all of us has lived long enough to experience someone we know or worked with or lived with that just had sudden mood changes, right? But these mood changes, as depression is, it has to be consistent. It has to be consistent over a period of time. And agitation is normally a common symptom of mood disorders. Another sign we need to look out for, especially in our youth, is that can be mistaken for play and adventure, is risk-taking activities or risk-taking behavior, such as reckless driving, fast driving, these motorsports that are very high risk in today. Jumping in front of the road, in front of cars, dodging it just by a second or a millisecond. Internationally, jumping in front of train tracks, lying in the road, walking to the edge of buildings, all of these things, all of these actions, you can, it's not just one sign. Someone, if they fulfill this one sign, it doesn't mean that they're suicidal, but it's a culmination, it's a combination of some of these signs. And if it is you see someone, or you recognize someone is taking these kind of risk-taking activities, then you definitely need to look into you definitely need to pay them a lot more attention, because it can be mistaken for adventure, and we would say, well, he's 20 years old, he just experiencing, let him go out, let him go. Yes, but there's a balance where you need to be vigilant if there are other signs that we mentioned previously coupled with it. Yeah? And not lastly, but isolation. Isolation is basically separating yourselves or separating oneself from the rest of the environment. Obviously, because you feel the loss of interest to socialize with people, you become so engrossed in what the shaitan or what the little man is telling you inside of here, right? You're so engrossed with those conversations of suicidal thoughts and planning suicide, step-by-step planning suicide, how you're going to perform it, what thickness of the rope, what scarf you're going to use, what kind of belt, where you're going to do it, what time, amongst who, all these different thoughts. You're so caught up in it, and if someone is displaying these types of ideas of planning suicide, then we definitely need to take action with them. So these are some of the warnings of suicide, and we need to examine ourselves how much of this is in us, or how much of these characteristics we can recognize in those that we love around us. Obviously, with illnesses, there are always treatments. Oh, but before we go to that, we would discuss very briefly factors contributing to depression and suicide. So family history, genetics, yes, could be biologically. You can inherit some of these traits. Those in your family, if you have family members who's already been admitted to mental illness institutes and the likes. Also physiology, your personality, your chemical balances, because we would know that, and we would come to it in the treatment, that it's a chemical, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there's a chemical imbalance in your brain. Certain chemicals or hormones are released that causes you to what's the word you use? The decision making, right? That you're very uneasy, anxious, right? Your cognitive abilities. It affects your cognitive abilities. The situations like abuse, conflict, death or loss, illnesses, chronic illnesses, financial crisis, neglect, and perhaps this is one reason why depression and suicide is increasing in Trinidad, because we can see all those things there are the ills to our society at this point in time. And a lot of people, without the knowledge, they don't know how to deal with it, how to handle it. Thoughts, the way you think, you're always negatively thinking on situations. You find no positive in yourself, you find no positive in the situation, you're always hard and harsh on yourself, criticizing yourself, blaming yourself, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that last word. Catastrophizing every situation, blowing it out of proportion, right? It's always very horrible. It's not just, you just can't deal with it. Before you even start to process how to deal with it, you just blow it up as though it's a bomb. Yeah, right, like a C4. So emotions. When these emotions like sadness and anxiety, discouragement, fear, it's all right to feel these things. From the best of creation, they felt these things. As the Prophet ﷺ, he felt sadness, There was a period of sadness in his life that is known, the 2 years or the 3 years. 3 years of sadness, anxiety, discouragement, fear. The believers, they felt fear, right? They were being oppressed, all these things. But when we take these emotions and let it control us and overcome us, that it affects our everyday activities, simple decision as what to wear to go to work, how to go to work today, what to eat today. These simple decisions, these emotions, if we let it affect our day-to-day activities, then this is definitely a contributing factor. Actions like withdrawal, staying away, separating yourself from everyone else, reduced activity level. You sit on the couch all day and you don't want to exercise, you don't want to move about, you just stay, and there's minimal blood flow inside the body. Self-harm, and we saw that in the skit, alcohol and drug abuse. Right, so these are some of the factors that contribute to depression and suicide. Treatments. We'll start with group therapy, which is very easy. There's a lot of groups out there that focuses on depression, suicide, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, domestic violence, all these different topics that Nick's touched with us. And finding yourself in one of these groups with people who experience the same symptoms as you feel that sense of belonging, but they are with professionals in that circle who can advise you, who can understand what you're going through, who can empathize with you, and those who are with you and experiencing the same as you, they can sympathize with you. And they can share their experiences that may help you even feel grateful for what you're going through. A support therapy, talking to trusted family members and friends. It's good that we seek out or make connections with our families, our trusted families and our close friends. And remember something, brothers and sisters, that if you have trouble with a car, a mechanical problem, and you only studied chemistry, that's all you're going to be able to help your car problem with, a little bit of chemistry. You would need a mechanic to assist you, and you will feel no shame in flagging down any time they can be Harry Lal on Queen Street there and say, my radiator overheat, or whatever it may be, I don't know, water, or a shutdown, or whatever it may be. You feel no shame. So just as medical as depression and suicide, don't feel ashamed to ask for help. Do not feel ashamed to ask for help because you don't know. It's okay to not know. And this helps reaching out with those that love you and those that you love. It helps with the issue of isolation. It helps with you tend to, you want to get back in touch with people so you're not isolated and being tempted by these ill ideas. Alright? So volunteering is also a nice way as a means of support. You volunteer in certain groups that can help you feel, that can expose you to certain conditions people go through, and you tend to feel grateful for what Allah has given you and what He has saved you from. Drug treatment is another avenue that we can take, but by advice of professionals. Understand this? By advice of professionals. This drug treatment can only help to correct your chemical imbalances that contribute to depression. The drug treatment is basically to balance your chemical imbalances. If after going to therapy, seeing a professional, she or he tells you that you have, and you're doing certain tests, you have chemical imbalances. This is where the drug treatment would come in to help in balancing that so that your cognitive ability would get better. A guided self-help. Guided self-help is a bit wide, and I would suggest, as soon as you recognize this in someone or yourself, you basically try to do these activities. Exercise. one of our most hated activities, only loved before carnival, right? Exercise. Exercise is so important to our daily lives because it releases particular chemicals in your brain, such as serotonin and certain endorphins that are also known as feel-good brain chemicals. It helps you feel good. These chemicals, when you exercise, that are released in your brain, it helps you feel energetic. It doesn't make you feel fatigued. Even if you're tired and you go to exercise, if you feel fatigue and you go to exercise, you don't feel fatigued. You feel re-energized. So it helps release these chemicals that makes you feel happy, makes you feel stable, makes you feel confident about yourself, right? So exercise works better than these antidepressants or these drug treatments that are out there. Why? Anybody can tell me why? Quickly. Louder. It's natural, good, and it doesn't have side effects except that you just look better. Right? This is the side effect of exercise. These drug treatments, they have huge side effects, a lot of complications you can have. So seek to these, if you have not seen a professional and they have not told, or if you've seen a professional and this is not your issue, your chemical imbalances, then exercise a lot. And even if still exercise, half an hour is enough per day. Half an hour a day, walking briskly, anything in your home, do something that could constantly keep you active for 30 minutes. Nutrition, another disliked attribute of our Trinidadians. Choosing your food wisely. Certain foods, when you eat a lot, when you eat it, like the high sugar foods, you eat it and you feel so good in its immediate moment. 20 minutes after, you feel fatigued. You feel horribly. Eat more foods with complex carbohydrates. Stay away from the very high sugar foods, even though it may be tempting. Sleep. Work out a sleep plan. Self-help. There are self-help plans that you could probably download on the internet, or even if you see a counselor, they could give you self-help worksheets that allows you to work out, to firstly examine yourself, point out the confident things about yourself, the good things, so that you don't let the negative overcome you and control you, and you work out a sleep plan. In generally 7 to 9 hours for an adult is sufficient of uninterrupted sleep. Is sufficient. So try and work out your sleep plan. Sometimes it may be difficult in the beginning, but if you try to stick to it, because this is your health. This is your health that we're speaking about. So just as you may have diabetes or a broken leg or hypertension, depression is something that you need to address as a medical illness. If not, it can take your life with the permission of Allah. Last but not the very least at all, it is seeking help with prayer and patience. As Allah mentions in His book, وَاسْتَعِينُهُ بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, that seek help with prayer and patience. And with this, it allows you, as the time of sadness we know in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right after those saddened times, the salah, the command of the prayer, was given to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is a direct relation we could make in how to deal with our challenges or our down feelings, our depressive feelings. Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Seek help with patience and salah. And we know the Prophet ﷺ, he lost so many children while he was alive. He experienced a lot of grief and loss. He experienced a lot of hardships. He experienced the children stoning him in Taif, and his sandals were filled with blood. These things, obviously, as a human being, as Allah mentions that Muhammad is only a man, he experienced these emotions, yet Allah told him how to, or gave him the solution, to deal with these types of atrocities being done to him. So pray to Allah, increase in your tahajjud, and it does not mean that you're praying tahajjud, you have depression because you're not praying tahajjud. I know sisters, I know brothers who get up every day praying tahajjud and performing their salah and doing their good deeds, and they still are depressed. They have admitted this to me, they have admitted it to others, it is real. So my dear brothers and sisters, when we see someone, when we interact with someone who has depression symptoms or suicidal symptoms, we need to be vigilant. We need to take it seriously. We need to tiptoe. Don't just jump on them. Don't just overwhelm them. But tiptoe, gain their trust, because this is what they need from you. They need someone who they can trust. Who, when they say, I've been feeling so worthless for the past 3 weeks, they don't get up and say, well, go and pray your salah. You ain't praying. Look at me say your Isha. Yes, your Isha is important. Yes, your 5 times daily salah is important. But if you ridicule them like this way, they're going to turn away from you. And you are going to feel guilty if they get worse, and may Allah forbid they lost their life to suicide. So with this, I want to thank you for the patience and the time, taking the time off to come here and listen to our our group here today. We are not a professional presenting group. We are just one of the groups that Nix chose to present this topic. And we only had a session of 3 hours or 4 hours to deal with this topic. So there are a lot of studies out there that we have not mentioned. There are a lot of helplines that you can go to, you can call. Nix is one of them. I'm sure we have it there. Right? FISCAL, National Islamic Counseling Services. Right? If you know someone who's experiencing any of these symptoms, please, if you're not comfortable with anybody else, Nix will definitely make you feel comfortable, because we've experienced that all in their courses. Right? So don't be afraid to always put them on to someone who has the knowledge and the ability to help them. Jazakumullah khairan. Astaghfirullah. Innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Thank you.
We have some pamphlets to give out to you all. In closing, I would just like to say what I have to say on my mind. If I say what I have to say, I will feel good. So, again, thank you again. It's an honor to be welcomed in the mosque. You know, this is my first time being in a mosque. I really like it. You know, it's looking nice. Anyway, I really hope that everyone take heed to what was said. I mean, my team and I work really hard to put everything together, and it's informative. So I really wish that you don't let this go through the next year, and you're not responding to what was said. And I am a testimony of depression, going through depression, still going through it, and I have come a long way. So my aim here, or what I'm really trying to say is that we need to be sensitive to with anyone who is going through depression. It's not something that you can say, oh, it's a slap of the wrist and everything will be all right. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. Depression is an illness that it can't be seen with the eyes like that. It cannot. I mean, one minute you see me good today and tomorrow it's another whole story. It's like war zone in my mind. So I'm really glad that I'm here to present this to you all. And I really think that we should more go out onto the younger people and in workplaces to bring this awareness. Because as a training health and safety officer, this is one of the things that is not on our list to be recognized. I mean, yes, we have outlined certain counselors to come into the workplace and deal with persons who are going through their personal issues, but mental illness is a serious and it needs to be treated like a heart attack. That's how serious mental illness is. Right? So please, parents, I'm urging you guys, look out for the signs, do more reading, ask questions. There's a lot of, there's a WellCare clinic in Batara. You can go there, you can talk to anyone who works there. Mental illness is serious. It's very serious. So we are one of the, third?
Yeah, we are the third highest suicide rate in the world.
We are the third highest rate suicide in the Caribbean. The third highest.
We are behind Ghana.
10th in the world.
10th.
10th in the world.
10th in the world. Okay. So I now hear some statistics there. I can't even repeat it first I shock. So thanks again so much.
Yeah.
Just a couple of thank brothers and for a very informative lecture. And in so doing, when you was talking about suicide, a lot of memories came back to me personally with my cousins who commit suicide, my brother who commit suicide, and many of my other families who try to commit suicide. And it was very painful listening to somebody thoughts that go through people's head when they're going to commit suicide. You can just imagine coming home, your wife call you and tell you your brother killed himself. And when he come, he's hanging on an electrical cord, he drink poison, and you just hanging there. And many others, I remember my cousin who was a pilot and he killed himself. His sister killed himself 1 year later. His 5 other members of the family tried to kill themselves one after the next. And it was very painful as a family. I don't know how much of you all go through this or know about this kind of suicide system, but it is a very informative topic. We should all seek help, inshallah. Now there's an open question. Anybody who wants to ask, you feel free to do so, inshallah.
Before you ask any questions, just remember we're not scholars on the topic, right? EBC will do fine. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. It's just not enough to get trying to help somebody who is depressed and tell them to pray this salah, make one want to. What could you tell a person, a friend or husband or so on? What could you tell that person who is depressed to help them along the way? What sort of things you could tell that person?
Alright, I'm going to give you from my personal experience. The person that I mentioned that who I witnessed depression in, and is very close to me, that person prays Salah 5 times a day. That person gives a zakah. That person fasts for the entire month in the month of Ramadan. We can't talk about that person iman. Right? From what we can see is that person is a believer. As to the level of their iman, the heart belongs to Allah. And iman resides in the heart. Right? So, if you identify someone who is exhibiting the symptoms of depression, right, you need to first, like as somebody with Brother Nadeem in his basically treatment approach, you now have to become part of the support to that person. You got to get close to that person. Yeah. Let that person start to speak. You need to get that person talking to you. Because in most cases, I'm going to tell you something, they just look for somebody who they can talk to, somebody who they can trust, right? And let that be genuine, right? And once you start to understand where they are coming from, once you start to listen to them, listen, you don't talk, just listen to them. Then what you try to do is you try to get them to seek professional help. I got the person to seek professional help. And alhamdulillah, I mean, as my young sister, I mean, she's such an energetic, jolly, how to put it, you know what I mean, person since I know for just what? It was last week when we started these classes. Last year, November, right? And she is going through depression. And there's another member who's not present here tonight, that's Nicole. She also had her bout with depression. And she's a professional, right? So what you need to do is you need to try to get professional help for that person. Listen, depression, you know, since I started this class, I started to do some reading up, because our topic that we choose was depression and suicide. And basically I stuck with this, right? In America, the statistics states that 1 in every 3 people suffers from depression. Right? 1 in every 3 people. We don't have the figures for Trinidad, but I can tell you this. We love to follow America. And in the next 20 years, based on the lifestyle that we are living, right, that is going to come and hit us. Imagine we are the third highest suicide rate in the Caribbean. Guyana is in front of us, and Suriname is the first. And we are 10th in the world. That's food for thought. There's a lot of people out there that needs help. A lot of people. I see the doctor is here, right? Doctor, you can diagnose somebody based on what they tell you, right? By checking, you know, with your instruments and so forth, right? Right. Done with that. It's the same thing we need to do with depression. Depression is a mental illness. And unfortunately, there's a stigma attached to mental illness. There's a madman, there's a mad woman, you crack, your screw's not right in your head. We have to stop that. This is an illness, and it can be treated. Believe me, it can be treated. Look, there is evidence of someone who has been treated here. Right? And we make dua for the sister that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heal her with the best of healing. Amen. Right? Sure, Brother Hafiz.
Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of the reasons that we are undergoing training across the different jamaats or the community is for that same reason. It is difficult to determine what needs to be done. And therefore, we now have a lot more resource people. It was this bunch of people who got training. So we have within the community persons who we can refer to. We also have our officers, the National Islamic Compliance Services, which is under next. We have the Ramadan group that we have done in Devi, in Central, all over. So the key thing is to get in touch with us, because no one is able to tell by looking at somebody what is the trigger to their particular depression, because there's a multitude of things. Sometimes it might be as simple as I don't have any money today. So triggers for depression varies according to the individual. So we need to understand that. But it affects them the same to the same extent. And so it means, as you rightly asked, what do I say? If you see symptoms, the key thing is to get help. And that is why we have resource people, all these people who are here. And then we have easy access to National Islamic Counseling Services. So seek help that they could advise you how to go about getting that person to want to get help. Go ahead.
So you say seek help, professional help and so on. But all these professionals, I mean, they do that for living. They require a fee. What if somebody is not in a position to pay such, high fees?
And that is what makes it a law. We have started an operation that already we are trying to give to particularly Muslim community, but we have spread wide now. We're dealing with national community. But within the Muslim community, we have a zakat fund within this that we could help those who needs the help from a zakat point of view to pay the fees for them. So there are ways, and we will probably be getting more of that in due course. So we know that sometimes we have lay counselors, and that's one thing I can say that Brother Reza pointed out, that he has passed the person on from him to somebody who is more capable, right? But we have to have at all levels within our community persons who could identify, and that is why we have this awareness program, and then from identifying to put them onto the first line of defense, and then they would be able to then, when they assess the situation, determine if there was further specialist requirement.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah again. I want to go back to the brother who asked, what can you do or what can you say? First and foremost, being Muslim, we tend to bring Allah in every single thing that we do. But you have to remember, when somebody going through depression, that is the furthest thing from the mind, and we have to be real. First and foremost thing, I am here, I care. Do not pass judgment and do not tell them what they're thinking about is wrong. Then you are judging them and you already shut them down. So as soon as you tell them, I care, especially if it's a sister, we could touch their hand and hold them and let they tell us. You ask the question, do you need somebody to talk to? They may say yes, they may say no. If they say no, oh fine, but you want to talk to me? Most of the time they will tell you yes and they will start to talk. I'll tell you why. Before somebody, and statistics prove this, commits suicide, they reach out. Nobody just get up a morning and do that. There is steps that happens. They always try to get help. They always ask somebody for help in a different way. We do not pay attention enough. We do not pay attention. Because we always feel smiles and grins is everything. So you tell them that. You also ask them, or tell them, can I assist you in anything? And you could start with, do you want a glass of water? Because we're talking about the now, not the then. Do you want a glass of water? Do you want something to drink, something to eat? Make them comfortable in their space so they know to start to open up to you. And have nothing to do with the deen. And I'm glad I mentioned that, because being Muslim, we talk and always feel because somebody might be facing an issue, the deen is low. It has nothing to do with that. Because we cannot say what the person's deen is. That is between them and the Lord. We know they need help, and that is what we are here for. Apart from that, the masjid. If you cannot help, tell the imam. They most of the time know somebody who they could put the person in contact with. There are a lot of help out there. You could start from your normal sports club, your normal music class, NGOs, whatever and whoever. And do not make it feel it is an Islamic thing. You could get help from a non-Muslim, and I'm happy to see the sisters here because we talk about humanity first and foremost. You move on to the other question. Have you told anyone, your husband, your mother, your father, your brother, your doctors? Because they're in line with people, their teachers. Encourage them to open up. Let them go to somebody they have confidence with so they can talk to. Do you need someone outside your family to talk to? What are some of the problems? Ask them. Make them feel comfortable. And there are many other steps. And I want to encourage everybody. Open your eyes, become sensitive, become aware. And I want you to become culturally aware as well, meaning it have non-Muslims that are going through depression, so don't just look at a Muslim brother or sister. Because where you work, it has people that need your help. When you're traveling a taxi, people talk, but we don't listen. We need to listen. And if we listen actively, you'll find that depression and suicide will be less, not only in Trinidad, but in the world. Jazakallah.
Okay, brothers, sisters, this course that I did with Nix, right, I was very skeptical at the beginning. I'm a skeptic. I don't like to go into something just so, right? And at the end of it, alhamdulillah, let me repeat that statement, alhamdulillah, right? And I have to thank Brother Abdul Malik, who basically signed me up. I didn't want to go to no class. I said I reach an age, me I can't learn nothing. Nobody can teach me nothing again, right? And I was totally wrong. Look at brothers here, look at sisters here. Ask Nix to come to this very masjid and conduct a class that what we did. Through this class, I was able to be a benefit to my own grandchildren. I have one 11, that's the eldest, and the second one after that is 10. And you know, when they start to reach that age 11 and into the teen ages, I call that the dotish age, right? That is when they lose all sense of judgment and whatsoever, they just do madness. We need to be around for them to guide them, right? And alhamdulillah, I started with my grandson, my eldest grandson. And you wouldn't believe, this gave me the tools which I can use to reach to him. It gave me the methodology, because in my days we know 2 carpet in the back of your head and you have to be fixed. No, it's not so again. That was from my days. That was in the 60s and the 70s. Right? Now is a different setting with these kids. They are exposed to what we were never exposed to. Right? So please, brothers and sisters, invite Brother Hafiz and Sister Waida to come here. You got a big master. I am sure you can fill the quota for our class. And if you don't fill it, give me a call. There are some people who are willing to come to this class if you hold it here, inshallah. That will be one of the, alhamdulillah, that will be one of the best things that you can ever do for yourself and your community, inshallah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to that which is the haqq, that which is correct, and that which is the truth. Ameen wa bil ameen.
Jazakallah khair. Now I'll call on the Imam. We have a few house announcements, followed by the dua by Dr. Mansur, and we'll call the adhan. And after the salah, inshallah, please no one leave. There will be dinner, will be served, inshallah. So I'll call on Imam Sahib. Oh, you talk.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to say that, listening to the presentation by the brothers and sisters here tonight, it really makes you reflect. Allah says in many places in the Quran that we have created mankind. When we look at the structure of mankind, we see a body, a physical body. Then there's an element that is hidden. Allah speaks about that in the Quran as well. Prophet ﷺ mentioned in one short tradition of his that inna fil jasadi lamudghah, that verily in the body of mankind there is a lump of flesh. إِذَا صَلُحَتْ صَلُحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. If that one piece of flesh has been rectified, then the entire body also remains healthy. If that piece of flesh is healthy, it is reflected on the limbs of that individual. وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. And if that piece and lump of flesh which resides in the bosom of mankind is in some way unhealthy, then that also reflects on the limbs of that person. And what did the Prophet ﷺ say? أَلَا وَهِيَ الْقَلْبِ. indeed it is the heart that Allah has placed in the chest of mankind. So what we are seeing here is something which is a very powerful element that Allah has placed within the body of mankind. And sitting there, my mind went to another saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that al-mu'minu al-qawi khayrun wa afdal min-mu'min al-da'if. That a person who is healthy and strong is more loved by Allah than a person who is weak. Allah has created insan, and He has also created sickness, illness as a trial for mankind. But it should always be our mission and our goal to strive to be healthy. We should not want to be unhealthy, whether it be a physical illness or a mental illness. We should try our very best to seek pathways and methods to always remain healthy, because again, according to that tradition, the healthy person, the strong person, whether it be physically or mentally, is in the sight of Allah more loved, more loved in the sight of Allah. And as Brother Nadeem was giving his presentation, he spoke about a person who jumped in front of a train. And I had a personal experience when I was studying in the UK. I visited one of my friends, and his uncle was train driver in the UK, in the underground stop that they have in London. And he was telling us about a personal incident of his where someone jumped onto the track. And now anyone who has been to London, they have actually closed off the platforms with glass enclosures, so that when the train comes up to the platform, no one has access to the train tracks anymore. It was because of these incidents. And he said this person jumped onto the track while he was driving. And we all know that when you slam on the brakes, when you're driving a train, the train slides. It doesn't stop immediately like a car. So he said he slammed on the brakes, and the train is sliding towards this individual. And he said the look in his eye haunted me for months. And it is a look of a person who's ill, a person who's in need of some type of, support, some type of, cure. And again, it makes one reflect that how Allah He has created this body of ours is something which is very, very amazing, and precisely the reason why Allah mentions in the Quran that when we look for signs of Allah, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ, look at yourselves, how Allah has created you. Such an amazing creature, that of insan. Something that sometimes we cannot even comprehend. And people who have exhibited these signs, sometimes they themselves do not understand what is happening to me. And last year I had to do a janazah of a young boy who committed suicide. Again, he was a teenager, maybe about 15, 16. He was having trouble at home, he was having trouble in school. And then they came home one evening and they found him hanging. Sometimes the person who is experiencing these traumatic experiences, they themselves don't even know what is taking place with them. So, I'd just like to say that, may Allah, bless the team, the mixed team, for enlightening us here today. Because again, it is something that, we need to understand what is happening with us. Yes, Allah He has created us. He has given us a body, a mind, a heart. But just as a person who is driving a car, he wants to understand all of the features. What is this knob for? What is this lever for? What is this gear stick for? He wants to understand all of the features, because that helps him control that vehicle better. Similarly, with regards to the body of ours, we need to understand, we need to educate ourselves so that we can understand what is happening within ourselves, whether it be physically or mentally. So again, a special thanks to the team. May Allah bless you all in your learning process. May Allah make it a means of enlightenment, not just for yourself, but for many, many people, not just here in Trinidad, but throughout the world, who may be suffering from these symptoms. May Allah make it a means of khair and blessing, inshallah. Also, with regards to our in-house announcements, we have, within this month, we have 2 events that we would just like to throw out there to our Jamaat members. On the 30th of this month, inshallah, we are having our annual in-house potluck socializing night. Alhamdulillah, last year we did one, where we got together outside in the car park, we did a barbecue, we sat down, it was a nice, ambiance, and it was an opportunity for the Jamaat members to, socialize, So this year also we are thinking about something similar. A few announcements in our last Mashura came up that we should have some activities on that night, whether it be board games, whether it be an open floor forum for anyone to give a few words of advice, to say anything, to raise any issues that may be bothering them within the sphere of the mosque. So that opportunity will be there on that night, the 30th of March, inshallah. So everyone is welcome to attend that particular venture. Also on the 31st of this month as well, we have been invited, as we would normally do annually, by the Halima's Helping Hand. Normally we would go and assist them with the barbecue booth for their event. This year also they have requested our assistance. So again, we are throwing that out there to any one of our Jamaat members who may be willing to volunteer their services on that day. Please contact us at the office, inshallah. Again, in closing, I would like to also make a special announcement of the Maktab in Diego Martin. They are having their event tomorrow, inshallah. So again, we are asking, for this apparently is an event for the Maktab that is functioning there, inshallah. So there will be sports, football, cricket, tug of war. There will also be stalls, food and drinks. And there is a Chinese queue also on that day. So again, let us go out and support. As we spoke so much today about supporting one another. And this is something which, not just as if one Muslim to another, but within the sphere of humanity, a simple, hand on the shoulder or a simple good word can do wonders that sometimes we also cannot even understand. So let us support one another, inshallah, in our good ventures, and let us, try our very best, to come together so that every individual within the sphere of our community can be enlightened, inshallah. Also, I would like to take a short moment, to remember all of those, victims, that unfortunately were slain in that unfortunate, incident that took place in New Zealand. Is something that really touches the heart. And I was telling my wife today that when you think about it, every time you think about it, it touches your heart. That people who came to a house of worship to pray, to worship in peace, they were basically gunned down in cold blood. So let us take a moment, and this really and truly is from Allah. What can we do at this point? We can pray for them. We can pray for the victims, pray for the families, because we do not know, and I was saying this to my wife again today, we do not know what the families are going through at this time, number one. And number two, the survivors. Because I was listening to the news today, and there were 49 people who were killed, but there were also another 46 or 45 people who were survivors. They were shot, and they were at hospital, seeking treatment. What they might also be going through. So we are so far away, what we can do at this point is, in showing our support, we make dua for them, we pray for them. For the souls that have been lost, for the lives that have been lost, we pray for them. And for the families which might be suffering at this time due to loss, due to grief and sorrow, and also those victims who might be also in a state of recuperation, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them, inshallah. So again, a very warm thank you on behalf of Jamaat Masjid Port of Spain. This is a series of lectures that we started last month. Our next lecture, inshallah, our lectures normally take place on the 3rd Saturday of every month. So again, we will have our next lecture carded for next month. The details of that will be released as soon as we get the information, inshallah. So again, we encourage everyone to come out to the lectures. It is a forum which, we can educate ourselves to become better individuals. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it the means of blessings, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Okay. Now we have a question to our Dr. Mansur.
Alhamdulillah. So if I'm just indicated that we're thinking about our brothers and sisters who have lost their life, extreme and living to my history. Let us spare the cause and shed a tear for them, for we don't know the family family interest moment. And inshallah, as for Imam indicated, we should pray for them and just join me. Decided to repart and we will have 3 times and we make part for them at home. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله We've accepted over the many tools and many of right with can communicate. I'm not addressing it to their command guidance and school of regular state. The state was for the gas and normal government to us and our as in forever never know what they have and that people who is confined never also will by us in another righteous servants of God who have served their religion. And especially if you are remember what their brothers and sisters. Those that are Subhanaka